Picture yourself in the IELTS reading test, focused, calm, and in control. Every question feels manageable because you know exactly what to look for and how to find the answers quickly. You're not guessing, you're following a clear method. And when the test ends, you walk out confident and proud, knowing you finally achieved the score you need. We've helped thousands of students prepare this way through our online courses. They discover how strategic preparation can completely change their results. In this video, I'll show you what separates Band 6 readers from Band 9 readers and how you can start preparing like a high-scoring candidate today. This one strategy can transform your entire approach to IELTS reading and help you score the Band 7+ you're aiming for. If you're ready to study smarter, stay tuned. By the end of this lesson, you'll know exactly how to prepare with focus, strategy, and total confidence. And now, let's get started. Many IELTS candidates spend months preparing for IELTS reading, but still get stuck at Band 6. They read every word carefully. They understand the passages perfectly, yet they run out of time or make careless mistakes. The problem isn't their English level. The problem is their approach. Band 9 students don't read differently because they have perfect English. They read differently because they understand one fundamental principle. IELTS reading is not a reading test. It's a scanning and matching test. This might sound surprising, but understanding this distinction is what separates high scorers from everyone else. When you approach IELTS reading as a traditional reading comprehension test, you waste precious time. You read entire paragraphs trying to understand every detail. You get distracted by interesting information that isn't relevant to the questions, and before you know it, you've spent too much time on one passage and still have 2 more to complete. High-scoring candidates approach the test completely differently. They don't try to understand everything. They scan strategically for specific information. They match keywords from questions to keywords in the text. They move quickly and efficiently, spending their time where it matters most, finding the correct answers. This strategic approach is the one IELTS reading strategy you need for 2026. It's called the scan and match strategy, and it will completely change how you tackle IELTS reading passages. The scan and match strategy has 3 essential steps. First, you read the questions before you read the passage. Second, you identify keywords in the questions that will help you locate answers. Third, you scan the passage, looking only for those keywords and the information around them. This approach feels counterintuitive at first. Most test takers believe they need to read and understand the entire passage before attempting questions, but this belief causes 2 major problems. The first problem is time management. Reading the entire passage carefully takes far too long. IELTS reading gives you 60 minutes for 3 passages with 40 questions total. That's only 20 minutes per passage. If you spend 10 minutes reading and understanding a passage, you'll only have 10 minutes left to answer the questions. This creates unnecessary pressure. The second problem is memory overload. Even if you read and understand the entire passage, you cannot remember every detail when you start answering questions. You'll find yourself reading sections again to verify information, effectively reading the passage twice. This doubles your reading time and wastes precious minutes. The scan and match strategy solves both problems. By reading questions first, you know exactly what information you're looking for. You don't waste time on irrelevant details. You move through the passage with purpose, scanning quickly until you find what you need. This approach is faster, more focused, and ultimately more effective. Let me show you exactly how to apply this strategy in practice. The first step is reading the questions before you touch the passage. Reading questions carefully serves 3 important purposes. First, it tells you exactly what information you need to find. Each question asks for something specific, a reason, a person's opinion, or a factual detail. When you know what you're looking for, you can scan more efficiently. Second, reading questions carefully helps you identify question types. Different question types require different strategies. For example, true or false or not given questions need you to match statements with passage information. Multiple choice questions require you to evaluate several possible answers. When you recognize the question type immediately, you can apply the appropriate technique straight away. Third, reading questions helps you understand the order of information. Most IELTS reading questions follow the order of the passage. This means if question 3 asks about information in paragraph 2, question 4 will probably ask about information in paragraph 3 or later. Understanding this pattern helps you navigate the passage more efficiently. When reading questions, pay particular attention to 3 elements: question words, keywords, and qualifiers. Question words tell you what kind of information you need to find: who, what, when, where, why, or how. Keywords are the content words that will help you locate the answer, specific nouns, verbs, or phrases that are likely to appear in the passage. Qualifiers are words that limit or specify the information. Words like main, only, always, sometimes, or most. For example, take a look at this question. What was the main reason scientists conducted research in Antarctica? The question word is what, telling you that you need to identify something. The keywords are scientists, research, and Antarctica. The qualifier is main. It tells you that while multiple reasons might be mentioned, you need to identify the primary one. Reading questions carefully takes practice, but it's absolutely essential. Don't rush. The time you invest here will save you minutes later when you're scanning the passage. By the way, if you want this channel to keep going, write yes in the comments, click like and subscribe. We only make videos that you actually want to watch. After reading the questions carefully, the second step is identifying keywords that will help you locate answers in the passage. This step is crucial because keywords act as signposts. They guide you to the right section of the text. Effective keyword identification requires you to think about synonyms and paraphrasing. IELTS reading passages rarely use exactly the same words as the questions. The test deliberately paraphrases information to assess your vocabulary range. For instance, if a question mentions elderly people, the passage might say senior citizens or older adults. If a question asks about environmental damage, the passage might discuss ecological harm or destruction of natural habitats. This means you need to identify keywords and immediately think of possible alternatives. When you see children in a question, think young people or minors. When you see increase, think rise, grow, escalate, or surge. When you see problem, think issue, challenge, difficulty, or concern. Some keywords are easier to match than others. Proper nouns, names of people, places, organizations, or specific things usually appear in passages exactly as written in questions. Numbers and dates also tend to match directly. These are your most reliable keywords because they're unlikely to be paraphrased. When looking for keywords, focus on content words rather than function words. Content words are nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs that carry meaning. Take a look at this question. What caused the significant decline in bee populations? Content words are caused, significant decline, and bee populations. Also pay attention to any technical vocabulary or subject-specific terminology in questions. These words are highly likely to appear in passages, making them excellent keywords for scanning. If a question mentions photosynthesis, migration patterns, or industrial revolution, These phrases will almost certainly appear in the text, probably near the answer. Practice this keyword identification skill regularly. The more you do it, the faster and more accurate you'll become. Eventually, you'll be able to identify keywords almost instantly, allowing you to move quickly to the scanning stage. The third and final step is scanning the passage to locate your keywords and find the answers. Scanning is fundamentally different from normal reading. When you read normally, you process every word sequentially. When you scan, you move your eyes quickly across lines of text, looking only for specific words or phrases. Effective scanning requires you to trust your peripheral vision. Your eyes are remarkably good at detecting words even when you're not looking directly at them. As you move down a page, your brain automatically registers words that match what you're looking for. When you spot a keyword, stop and read the sentences around it carefully. The key to successful scanning is staying focused on your target keywords. Don't let interesting information distract you. Don't start reading sentences that aren't relevant to your current question. Your only goal is finding the specific information needed to answer the question you're working on. When you find a keyword, read the surrounding sentences carefully. The answer is usually within 1 or 2 sentences of the keyword. Sometimes it's in the same sentence. Sometimes it's in the sentence immediately before or after. Occasionally, you'll need to read an entire paragraph to understand the context. Pay careful attention to how information is expressed. Remember that IELTS reading tests paraphrasing skills, so the answer won't use exactly the same words as the question. You need to understand the meaning and match it with the question's requirements. For example, the question might ask, how many countries participated in the conference? The passage might say, representatives from 43 nations attended the summit. You need to recognize that countries equals nations, participated equals attended, and the conference equals the summit. Sometimes you'll encounter questions where keywords appear multiple times in the passage. When this occurs, use additional keywords and question details to narrow down the correct location. Look for other content words from the question that appear near your primary keywords. One common mistake candidates make is spending too much time on difficult questions. If you've scanned carefully and still cannot find the answer, make an educated guess and move on. Come back to it later if time permits. Don't let one challenging question consume time that you could be using to answer straightforward questions. Also remember that not given answers exist in true or false or not given questions. Sometimes you won't find the information because it simply isn't there. If you've scanned thoroughly and found related information that doesn't match the question's claim, the answer is probably not given. Don't waste time searching for information that doesn't exist in the passage. Even when using the scan and match strategy, candidates often make mistakes that lower their effectiveness. Being aware of these mistakes helps you avoid them and maximize your band score. The first common mistake is reading questions too quickly. Some candidates rush through the questions, trying to save time, but this makes them miss crucial details. Always invest enough time reading questions properly. The second mistake is scanning too quickly without actually processing what you're seeing. Scanning requires focused attention, not just moving your eyes rapidly down the page. Your brain needs a moment to register words and identify matches. If you scan too hastily, you'll miss keywords and waste time searching again. The third mistake is reading too much. After finding a keyword, some candidates start reading large sections of text, losing their scanning focus. Remember, you only need to read enough to answer the specific question. Usually, this means 1 or 2 sentences. The next mistake is failing to manage time properly. 20 minutes per passage is a guideline, not a rule. Some passages are easier than others. If you finish a passage in 17 minutes, move immediately to the next one. Don't waste time double-checking answers unless you have spare time at the end. Mistake number 5 is second-guessing correct answers. If you've scanned carefully, found relevant information, and selected an answer confidently, trust your judgment. Many candidates change correct answers to incorrect ones during review because they overthink. Only change an answer if you found clear evidence that your first choice was wrong. That's the one IELTS reading strategy you need for 2026, the scan and match strategy. By reading questions first, identifying keywords carefully, and scanning strategically for answers, you will approach IELTS reading with focus and efficiency. This strategy transforms IELTS reading from an overwhelming task into a manageable scanning and matching exercise. It can help you save time, reduce stress, and improve your band score. If you're serious about achieving the IELTS score you need, check out our IELTS packages using the link below. We provide step-by-step guidance, complete templates for speaking and writing, practice tests, and everything you need to feel confident on test day. I hope you liked this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you're notified when the next video comes out. Also, share this video with your friends so they can improve their IELTS score too. See you in the next video!